Welcome to Season 3 of Rooted in Reaching, where we talk with dreamers, doers, and difference makers building an innovative future right here in the South Bend Elkhart region. Entrepreneurs know that where we're rooted matters, and where we're reaching matters even more. Today, we're talking to Nick Ackerman and Adam Toland, inventors of Door Blockade, an innovative and award-winning secondary security device providing 5 seconds to extra safety and security. Well, welcome. I am here today with Nick Ackerman and Adam Toland with Door Blockade. This is a really interesting journey that they've been on and a great product. Unfortunate product in some ways because of its application, but also a necessary product in the world that we live in. So I want to start with Nick. Nick, why don't you just, before we get into any background, why don't you tell us a little bit about what is Door Blockade, just to level set here for the audience.
So Door Blockade is a portable door barricading device. And for a lot of people, that kind of gets in the weed of like, what does that mean? Portable means there's no installation required. You don't have to install anything. Secondary locking device or door barricading device is you have your normal lock and you have your normal key, your normal handle lock and all that rigmarole. Yep. A secondary lock is what you add on top of that. And we're kind of in this niche position where nobody else can do what we do. There's no other device on the market that's kind of close. So it's works on outward swinging doors, inward swinging doors. It works on everything besides solid pane glass doors. Right. Especially in the interior doors, kind of what we're marketing for. Was I even like I can hold it up?
Yeah, you can hold it up there real quick.
And
yeah, that's great. Writ large, it's for additional door security.
Correct.
Right. It's an additional lock that will secure a door. And I know we'll talk a little bit later in the podcast about what you learned from your customers. I think your original customers, you were thinking about school shooting situations and providing extra security in classroom environments. So we'll talk more about that. So this is great. So that's where we are, Door Blockade. And then Nick, you have a long background in manufacturing. Just, can you give us like a 60-second, what did you do? How did you enter the world of manufacturing?
Ironically, it kind of started with Boy Scouts. When I got out of Scouts, my Scoutmaster, and my troop, I'm actually a Scoutmaster still. I actually went back, got my Eagle Scout, went back, and I'm a Scoutmaster there. My troop, when you turn 18, we just don't put you to the door. Like, you can't be involved in scouting anyway, but you can still, we to make sure you get a skill, get a trade, go to school, whatever.
Yep.
And I wasn't sure I want to do. I like learning, but I didn't like school. I don't like sitting down. I don't like sitting behind a desk. And my Scoutmaster was like, Nick, I got someone you might need to want to talk to because I love building stuff. I've always been a tinkerer. I've always done that kind of stuff. And he took me to his father-in-law's B&B mold, his father-in-law old B&B mold.
Okay.
And he was like, well, I'm going to show you around here. Or what his brother-in-law did, and sat there and he showed me all these machines and I was hooked right there. And then we went down to the South Bend Ivy Tech, right? And they had the machine tool program. So I signed up the same day to that machine tool program. A couple months later, I started that machine tool program at Ivy Tech, and that was really changed. That's a real pivot point in my adulthood. Yeah. It kind of gave me the direction. And from there, I've been, I'm a tool and die maker by trade. I've made stuff for a lot of crazy things: Boeing, SpaceX, Lockheed Martin, NASA,
fantastic.
Just all the rigmarole.
So it's pretty interesting. So it sounds like it was love at first sight in a way. When you visited the first company that your Scoutmaster recommended. I mean, was it really like that? You walked in the door, he showed you around, and you were like, I'm in love.
I'm hooked.
I'm hooked.
Because I really started, because I love the outdoors, Boy Scouts, and I loved like knives, and not like the weird this is a tool, right? Because you think about one of our first tools was a knife, right? A hammer and a knife. And I was trying to make a better knife, right? I was trying to make a better knife. And so I goes into metalworking. And my Scoutmaster's like, well, you like metalworking so much. How about you try the machining? It pays a little better than standing in your garage trying to make a knife. And there's a lot more career opportunity. And he was correct on that. That's where it really came from. And from there, unfortunately, I haven't made a knife since then. I've made everything else but a knife.
Maybe we'll circle back around to that at some point.
One day when I retire, right?
Yeah. Well, it turns out I'm also an Eagle Scout, so we'll have to do the secret handshake later. So you've done a variety of different manufacturing, tool and die related jobs.
Yep.
And were you ever thinking in the back of your mind, I want to make my own thing?
No.
You were happy working for other people.
Yeah, I was working for other people never bothered me. Yeah. I never had a problem with taking direction or being told to do this or that. I never had a problem with that. in the beginning of the story of the product, I never went out and intended to actually invent anything. With Boy Scouts, I'm really good at fundraising. And my goal is just to find something that was out there and fundraise it and get it into my local schools.
Got it.
Because a lot of my scouts, they're all in school, right? So I was like, well, what can I do to make sure my scouts are safe during their school? And then this was kind of the rabbit hole. I have a background in design too. I joke around, I'm actually really close to becoming a mechanical engineer. I need like a couple college credits. So I'm actually fairly confident when it comes to designing and all that stuff. And so I sat there and I just read between the lines, and that's how we kind of got here to the device.
Let me ask you about that though. So like what led you to the device in particular?
So you sit there and listen to why are other products available? Like, so he goes, so why can't you use other products? And you look at fire code compliance. You look at all these different codes, right? So you're building a box to work within, right? Mm-hmm. And then you go, okay, here's my box. And so you just have to start narrowing down the box, right? So as you narrow down the box, that limits your design restraints, right? Because now you go, oh, how can I make this, it has to work on all the doors, because if it only works in half the school, then the whole school won't adopt it.
Right.
So then you go, okay, what do all doors have in common? Then we go, okay, well, all interior doors have to have a gap underneath it for HVAC.
Yeah.
You know how small it is? It has to have that. So that's one feature all doors have to have in common. And so then you start going, okay, this is one feature. Then you go, okay, how do you stop an outward swinging door?
Yeah.
Actually a pretty hard question to ask. And then you go, well, how can you stop things from moving? Oh, you put under tension. So you go, and so it's kind of one of those rabbit holes that you have to think about. You start narrowing things down. As you narrow things down, that limits your design restraint until you finally get down to the final product. And then from there you go, okay, this is my final product. How can I make this so I can make a lot of them affordably?
Yeah.
And that I'm a firm believer in KISS. Keep it simple, stupid.
Mm-hmm.
And so as we look at the product, it looks simple. Like everyone looks at it and they go, it's simple. But there's a full utility patent on it.
Yeah.
I got the full utility patent on it. And
so let me get this right, though. I mean, it sounds like when you started, you weren't looking to start a company.
No.
You were looking to do a fundraiser, or
no,
you were just
actually,
looking to do a project with the Scouts?
I really just, so my day job is in one of the best places. I've been working there for 6 years. He lets me machine all this stuff in the facility. I'm the lead machinist there. And I have the keys and the entry code. He doesn't care what I do there as long as, the machine's not torn apart for a job or whatever. So I can machine all this stuff, all the prototypes I did from scrap material that we had.
Got it.
And
so you were tinkering after hours.
I was tinkering after hours. And the what you find on the utility patent is looks almost perfect, identical to the final product, which is kind of rare when you talk about utility patents. And so I actually was thinking about licensing it, going into licensing. Because I don't have the business knack, right? I can quote, like when it comes to like product, I can service. Like if you need something machined, need something made, I know how hours work, I know how that work. I can do that. I've done subcontracting work before, like subcontract manufacturing, like subcontract program. I've done that before when it comes to business, but it's a bit scant, and I'm okay with having a weekly income, a weekly guaranteed income. I'm comfortable living within those parameters. So I've never been much for.
So was there a moment when you were doing this, you were working after hours, you were using scrap bits, and was there a moment, there must have been, right? You got the patent where you thought, geez, this is a real product that I could develop. Like it's not just a hobby, or it's not just just doing this for fun anymore. Like this could be a real thing.
It was once I did the prototype, and the materials are in there because of how the forces are on this thing, how strong it is. It's the simple mechanics of it. I did it on the shop door. I sat there, and it's humongous. I call it the brick. I mean, it's humongous crap.
Like RoboCop.
It's humongous. And, make it quick, make it simple, and see if it works, And I did it, and I kind of laughed because it stopped it. And it worked better than I ever thought, right? Okay. And I kind of laughed. I called my mom. I'm like, Mom, it works, right? Because I've been working overnight. I've been working until like 11 o'clock at night. I get shop at 6, 7 o'clock in the morning. I get out at 11 o'clock at night every single day trying to get this thing. And it finally worked. And I was like, okay, let me prove this out, make sure it does work. And I told Adam, we did a setup at a theater the last 2 days. And sometimes there's a bit of self-doubt of like, oh man, because I know this device in and out.
Sure.
And it's sometimes like, oh, is it as strong as it is? It is whatever, that bit of self-doubt. But then when you put it on the door, you set it in place, and you can hear the building kind of groan from the force, and you test on the door, and the door is not moving, and then that builds back to confidence. So
yeah,
it's a bit of that, like, never thought I'd be in there, and then that was that when you first get it. When I first did it, that was that hook. I knew I had something.
Sure, yeah.
I knew I had something.
Oh, you blocked off the big heavy door, and it worked, right? And you called your mom. You're like, okay. So you were going to license it. Is that when you started thinking, well, maybe I should license this thing?
Yeah, so I went down the licensing route.
Yeah.
And what was challenging about the licensing route was there's nothing like this. I know people say there are, but there isn't.
Okay.
There might be one that's similar, but it works on inward swinging doors. And that's actually a pretty easy thing to stop. So this works on outward and inward swing. So as I started calling companies, and I got really good response, I really got really good traction with some pretty big companies.
Okay.
And they're like, we like your idea. The market's unproven because secondary lock, it's a fraught, and we might touch on this later.
Sure.
It's a fraught industry. It's a real touchy fire code compliancy codes, and they're like, we like it. If you start getting sales, call us back, and then we can talk about a deal. And I was like, well, if I'm gonna have to do all that work, why am I gonna cut someone else into the pie?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's why I really decided. I was like, I'm gonna go for it, because if I got, it was like 3 CEOs and some pretty big companies were like, this is kind of incredible.
Yeah.
But there's no proof.
So they wanted you to prove it out, develop a customer base, and then they would consider investing or buying.
They're like, do everything, and then what might consider. I'm like, well, I'm going to do everything. I'm just going to do it.
Right.
And so that was the first initiative of just getting out there and starting the business.
Yeah. Yeah. Fantastic. I don't want to ignore Adam here.
Yeah.
At some point in this journey, after this discovery period that you went through, you met Adam.
Yeah.
Can you tell us how that happened? And then Adam, I'll have you tell us a little bit about yourself.
Ironically, same scout leader who got me in the machining.
Wow, very influential.
He goes, I was starting this business, and I was like, Greg, I need some business advice. And he's a very successful individual, right?
Okay.
But he's more of a service-based construction, that kind of stuff, owns lots of properties. I was like, and he goes, I know someone. His name is Tim Hines. He was in Innovation Park. He was
here at University of Notre Dame.
We do a lot of things there. And he goes, I know him very well. And he goes, I'm going to introduce you to him. And so we did. And so I went over to his house, and I just told him my idea. I'm like, I'm kind of stuck wanting to go business wise. And Tim took a liking to me, and he goes, I can't guarantee you anything. I can get you in contact with some people, but it's up to you to take it any further.
Got it.
And that was a phone call to John Henry, or email to John Henry.
Mm-hmm.
And then one phone call, John Henry later, Adam got, I think it was the same phone call.
Yeah.
Is John goes, I know a guy, hold on a minute. And then proceeds to call Adam and brings Adam into the phone call.
John is nothing if not enthusiastic.
Yes.
And he is a master connector. Connector, absolutely. Okay, so let's hold that. So you met Adam. And Adam, where did you come from? And I don't mean literally, but actually, yes, literally. And why did John Henry think of you?
Yeah. So it's strange. There is a bit of a backstory that led to like really serendipitous timing. So from Ireland originally, even though my accent's died down a bit, unfortunately, but found my way to Notre Dame when I was 19. At the second time of asking, the first time they rejected me. And then I decided I really wanted to come here, took a gap year and applied again.
Got it.
Got in the second
time.
Yeah.
Okay, so this was as a freshman.
Yes.
At Notre Dame. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so where this already started for me was I'd spent the first 2 years at Notre Dame studying math and Spanish, doing the typical student stuff. Mm-hmm. Coming up to summer of sophomore year, I wanted some sort of summer experience, summer internship. And I'm a big believer in like going outside your comfort zone. I wear a ring here that says seek discomfort.
Okay.
And it's like a motto that I try and embody in things that I do.
It's a fair entrepreneurial mindset to bring in.
I didn't know that at the time. It turns out, it kind of is. So I cold emailed John Henry, having never met him, and said, hey, here's a bit about me. Don't know anything about you or the Idea Center, but like I would love an internship.
Okay, so this is at the summer after your sophomore year.
Summer of sophomore year.
So you were not in a STEAM program. You didn't have any prior association with the Idea Center.
Yeah. Okay. So this is really the like the source of where all of this kind of came out of. And so I did summer internship there. Loved it. Became hooked on startup culture, on kind of collaborative chaos is kind of what I call it. Yeah. And I find myself thriving in that environment. So I wanted to stay involved, and had built up a good relationship with John.
Yep.
And then throughout the preceding maybe 18 months, I worked on a few different experiences. But one of them was really impactful and is what led me to want to eventually work on something like Door Blockade, where I was working with the Migrant Impact Network, which was this think tank trying to leverage innovative technologies to help vulnerable populations.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things I was trying to do there was secure full-time employment for this group of 76 Afghan migrants. You had to flee the
who were here in South Bend or in other parts of the country?
Here in the U.S., yeah.
Here in the U.S.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So they had to flee after the political happenings there, and essentially needed full-time employment to get asylum and stay in the country. On the other hand, I was the student reaching out to CEOs of hospitality companies such as Marriott, Choice Hotels, etc., trying to get these guys on the phone to say, hey, like, we have this thing, we need you to help. All Notre Dame alumni.
Got it.
And so after eventually securing employment for all 76 of those people,
congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, it definitely wasn't just me, but it was a pretty important kind of like lesson of, hey, at Notre Dame, I study math and study Spanish. These are two things I view as problem solving. And now here's entrepreneurship.
Yeah, you probably don't learn a lot about cold calling in your math
classes.
classes.
The only way to learn about cold calling is by doing cold calling.
Yes.
Smile and die.
Yeah.
But yeah, like that was really impactful in the sense of like, okay, here's the impact you can have with entrepreneurship. Here's this way to practically problem solve in the real world and have real impact. Yeah. And so after I kind of finished up with that, I was doing an internship in Boston for the summer. But before I left, I said to John, hey, John, just so you know, like, I've done a few different things here. I've started and led student teams. I've worked at the Migrant Impact Network. I really want to get involved in a startup next. Like, I think this is like the next kind of evolution of my journey through the Idea Center.
Yep.
And I said to him, I really want it to be something socially driven that has a mission attached to it. I don't want it to be anything other than that.
Okay.
And that same summer, towards the end of it, I was in Boston doing my internship, like I said, and John calls me and he says, hey, like, I'm on a Zoom call with this guy, like, drop everything you're doing. You need to get on this Zoom call. and it's the same call that Nick was talking about.
Okay. So there were you just like, oh my gosh, okay.
Yeah. John liked the idea, liked my, like, its tenacity, because before I reached out to Notre Dame, I obtained an SBA loan. I knew I needed to get going. I had a couple meetings with schools, and they liked it. They're like, if you had it here, we buy it. Right. And that's kind of the best thing to ever hear is when they're like, if you had it here, I buy it.
Yeah. And
so that really put me on the spurs. And I talked to, once again, Greg was like, talking to my father-in-law. He's a successful business person. I talked to some pretty successful business people and like, go out, get an SBA loan. They're like, you have an idea. You have the proper background, get an SBA loan. So I had the SBA loan, everything there, and I get it going. But then it was the business. I think I was completely lost. It was don't know where to start, don't know whatever, and that's when they're like, you need to go to Notre Dame. And so that was when the kind of the marriage, I like what Adams calls it, for chalk and cheese.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We're chalk and cheese. We're two
chalk
different.
And cheese.
It's an Irish phrase. I realize it's not really said here. It's like, you're so different, but it almost complement each other.
Like water and oil or something. Yeah.
So then Adam really, when John was like,
chalk and cheese.
Yeah. So when John was like, I like your idea, but you're not a student, right? You're not a student, so I can't really help you. But you're being a student on, then we can help you in every way possible. And I was like, I got no problem bringing on a student, right? Because I think a lot of entrepreneurs tend to hold their things very close to their chests, right?
They sometimes do. It's almost always a mistake.
And so I learned very early on. I listened to a lot of books, read a lot of books about business. And they're like, the first thing you got to do is realize that this isn't you.
Yeah.
Take it apart and let someone else take it and run, because they're going to do more than what you can do by yourself. So when John was like, told me, I was like, I'm all on board.
Yeah.
So the first time you two met was on this Zoom call.
Yeah.
With John moderating.
Yes.
Okay. How did that go for you, Adam? Were you were at work?
Yeah, I was at work. Yeah, I mean, it was great. Like, I almost couldn't believe it. I was like, there's no way I've, told John a few weeks ago, like, about what I'm looking for. And a few weeks later, he's like, boom, find it.
Yeah.
And like, he didn't know, like, he got connected through someone else. And so that's why I say it was very serendipitous how it all came together. But I think you can see there was two different paths that were kind of going to meet at some point.
Yeah. So you're in Boston. Nick's here. What was the next step? Like, you guys obviously kind of hit it off.
Yeah.
Or you thought, okay, we can work together. And you were probably clear, Nick, on what you needed, right? You were bringing the technical skills and the inventor's mindset to this thing, but the business side of it was maybe somewhere you needed a partner.
Yeah, the business side thing was what, thankfully, that was what Notre Dame, there was actually a point where it was a mix toss-up between Purdue and Notre Dame. And I reached out, his name was Mott Hanley. He was actually on Shark Tank. He's kind of like John Henry for Purdue. And I spoke with Mott beforehand, and he goes, "You already did all that," because Purdue is very engineering based, right?
Yeah,
sure. And he was like, "You already done all the hard part." He goes, and he told me, he goes, "I'm going to tell you to go with Notre Dame because they're more business focused." He goes, "We focus on bringing the product to market." He goes, "You already got that."
Yeah.
He goes, "Go with Notre Dame." And so that was the weird, like, kind of funny, like, I'm fortunate to be a state. I had a choice between from a guy,
two excellent universities who
from a guy who like went to trade school at Ivy Tech, right? And I was like, and I started sitting there like with a phone call, like, go with Notre Dame, right?
I love that.
Yeah, so we're gonna build a business advisory board. We're trying to build that, and then Notre Dame does, it's called the McCloskey event.
Yes,
and John was very adamant that we should do it. He was very adamant. He was, "You need to do this event." And all my reading was, investors don't like product-based businesses. They don't like it. They're like, get lost. So my entire mindset was like, I'm not going to focus on any of these like startup things because no one cares, right? No one cares. No one wants them. I'm just going to ignore them, right? I'm just going to ignore them and just keep on plowing forward.
Yep.
And John was like, "No, you need to do this. You need to start doing this." And that's where Adam and I really started meshing in, was the McCloskey event. That was the thing kind of really hooked us together.
Yeah.
Was working on that because neither of I had any experience with doing pitch
decks,
anything.
So the McCloskey competition, new venture competition for the audience, is a competition sponsored by Notre Dame for entrepreneurs. And there's money involved, right? There are prizes involved in that. And so you two threw your hat in the ring.
Yeah.
You as a student, you as a student, right? Were you a student at the time? You must have come back and
this
rejoined the university.
Senior year in undergrad.
You were still a senior.
Yeah, he was still a senior.
Got it.
And I was brought on as a community entrepreneur.
Yep.
Like I said, Adam and I really meshed very well with that.
Yeah.
We both have a very much heavy, just grind it out mindset. We'll just sit there, don't care how long it takes, we're gonna get it done. And I was shocked. We made it all the way. So there's 4 ways to get to the actual finals, or 5, or
4 or 5.
There's 4 or 5, but we made it all the way from the beginning to the final 5, right? It's final 5,
yeah.
I
final
believe that's
5,
right.
Yeah.
And
I was there for your presentation.
Yeah. And if they have a like a showcase beforehand.
Yep.
And for anyone, so one of the people don't believe how strong this thing is. And so we brought an actual door. I think that's what I remember coming up. And what was kind of cool about that is we brought the entire door up. It was the thing weighs like 700-800 pounds all assembled.
Yeah.
And I think I was talking with you, and there was one of the people from the cleanup staff was also there. And I was explaining it to you and to her at the same time.
Yeah.
And she goes, "Could I use this at my apartment at home?" I'm like, "Yeah, use this at your apartment at home, no problem." Right? Because you could. And she was telling me that, and so I just remember that vividly, because I think that might have been what was so I don't want to say shocking, but I think that's what really opened up your eyes to us, was we're not just this weird ethereal idea.
Yeah.
It was, "Oh, could I do this, whatever?" And it was like, "Oh yeah, no, sure, no problem." And it was, because I saw your look in your eye when you like saw me interact with her, and you're like, "Oh wait, this is not just some ethereal idea." So we did that, and that's what really hooked Adam and I together. And that was a really, not to say eye-opening experience, but it was odd because, like I said, I felt like the odd man out, because I knew, like I said, we didn't get first place. I think we could say the best we got second place, Adam. Would you say?
Yeah.
And I knew I was one of the first community entrepreneurs to ever win money from there.
I believe that's true. Yeah.
And the way I found out was Notre Dame emailed me, and they go, "You did great. This is awesome to be proud of." And they're like, "But we have no idea how to pay you." And I made the joke. I was like, "Well, I take cash for larger bills, and but checks."
Yeah.
And so I had to become an official vendor of Notre Dame to actually get
in order
paid
for them to pay you.
Yeah, it was one of those funny, like, because they always, the community pitch, the community. And so I'm pretty confident I'm like the most successful business potential when the McCloskey event coming around, actually, like a community entrepreneur to getting that far.
So in your case, the pitch competition worked for you. Number one, you got some money out of it, which is great.
Yeah.
But I think it sounds like maybe a bigger part of it was that it gave you two a chance to start working together on like a shared goal.
It really did. Yeah. That was,
sometimes I occasionally have mixed feelings about pitch competitions because what a company or a startup really needs to be doing is figuring out their product and finding their customers, right? And sometimes a pitch competition can be a distraction from that, right? If you're spending all your time working on the perfect pitch deck. But I think in your case, it sounds like it had the added benefit of allowing you two to work together and get to know one another.
It definitely did. Like that's definitely where we solidified our relationship.
Yeah.
Because like just for some context, that's primarily like what I was working on. Like I was doing this after, doing like a dual degree and having 3 jobs. And so this was like, okay, I have extra time. Here's how I want to spend it.
Yeah.
And so like I was very much brought on, like Nick said, one, try and build an advisory board, get people who are knowledgeable and can help us and like think through a lot of the different pieces. And then 2, take it through McCloskey.
Yeah.
And so like that whole year was like just us increasingly working together, spending more and more time together, and me becoming increasingly both more involved with Nick and the company and then more emotionally attached to the problem at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah.
If anyone ever gets bored and wants to watch it, it was a 2024 McCloskey event. Adam made like 5 women in the audience.
I made
cry.
5 ladies cry. I heard.
Yeah, that one. Sorry. Yeah, I was up there. I was looking. I'm like, Adam, you're making people cry out there.
Yeah. So the advisory board was another part of what you were working on. Was that your idea? Was that an idea that came out of John Henry? Like, so you were sourcing folks who could give you advice on how to move forward with the idea. Were you sourcing those folks from different areas of expertise?
Trying to get people who have sold into K-12 before, even if they're in the ed tech space, where the majority of those Notre Dame related folks are. Trying to get people who've built companies before. It was really trying to like leverage Notre Dame's alumni network to get us the right group of people.
Yeah, which makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
So Nick, you said something a little earlier about the housekeeper who saw the product and asked about your apartment. And that leads me to the question about your customers, because we had this conversation before the podcast started. Your original customers that you identified were schools and school shooting situations in particular, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong about that. But that was the original mindset, was like, these are the folks who could adopt this product and benefit from it. I believe that since then, and after many, many conversations with schools and other people, you have sort of pivoted a little bit in your thinking on who could benefit from the product. Can you tell us a little bit about that and how did that process go?
Yeah, I'm happy to dive into it. So when I graduated from Notre Dame, I rolled straight into the STEAM program, which is a master's in entrepreneurship and innovation.
Yeah.
And there, every student does a project, and it's usually with an external company. They sponsor the program, and a student like links up with them. I really wanted to do Door Blockade.
Yeah, you already had a project.
Yeah, got increasingly more involved. Had gotten involved in a bigger status. And so I've essentially spent the past year talking with hundreds of different people, trying to see, like we said, like where else can this work? I think schools is very much still our focus. So like we're not moving away from that. I think what this past year has done is like it's broadened our horizons in the sense of we've realized through stakeholder interviews that there's a bunch of different spaces where the same problem exists and this same very versatile device can actually add a lot of value. So it's not, it's a pivot in some senses, but like we're still very driven on getting into schools. Like schools is where we can
got it. Okay,
so designed for schools.
It's really less of a pivot in a sense and more of a widening of the aperture of who could benefit from the product.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You know, in the very beginning, it was because a lot of inventors, everyone tells you solve your own problems and solve someone else's problems. Don't solve your own, because your own problem might not be that big a deal, right? So solve other people's problems. If anyone's asking them, sit there and think about make something to solve someone else's problems.
Yeah.
And so, but I was so focused on schools, and all the codes kind of also tend to go to hospitals and go to theaters and go to banks and then go. And so everything is spreading out. But if you're not looking out that way, you're not going to see it. Right.
Yeah.
And so like I said, with Adam, with phone interviews, talking with people, and a lot of it's been, we just were completely not knowing. We walked into Beacon Medical Group here in South Bend because Adam talked to the former CEO.
Former CEO. So yeah.
He was like, I think the hospital might like this.
Okay.
And so we just went in. I know nothing about hospitals besides you go there and you're about to die. Right. That's like normally why you go to the hospital.
Go there when you're
right?
sick. Yeah.
Yeah. And so we walked in and I was like, I have no idea how to talk to you about this. We're just here to show you.
Yeah.
And we just showed them on the door. That's kind of like our best selling pitch is the fact that when we talk with people, we'll bring one of these devices in, we'll walk around, go, what door do you want to try down? We'll pop on that door and we'll use it right there.
And say, try to open it.
Yeah, try to open it.
Yeah,
exactly. And that catches people. And we did it on the door in the office there, and they were just flabbergasted, for lack of better terms.
Yeah.
And they're like, this is something that we've been looking for. And it was like a bit of like the bright bulb idea. You get that? And we were like, holy cow, we really need to start. And like I said, I think Adam and I have been making a joke. We have more sales than social media posts.
Yeah. Soon to change though. We're getting
better.
Okay. Yeah.
But we'll also now we're in government buildings. We're in theaters. We're going to be in a bank here soon.
Okay.
We're in schools. So starting off, we already have this like wide mix of just where we're going, and we're like, oh, okay. So now we're kind of broadening horizons, seeing where we can go.
It's applicable in other environments outside of school environments.
Exactly.
Now, you're talking about demos, so let's not lose track of what we can do here. You have a demo right here on the table.
Yeah.
I know you held it up before. Can you show us?
Yeah. So this is the one I have in my truck.
Okay.
So it's mildly lasered for our sample modification, whatever.
Got it.
So what this does is, imagine you have your door here.
Yeah.
This is something to lip to your door. Right, all doors have to have a gap. Internal doors have to have a gap beneath for HVAC.
Yep.
So you just apply this to the door.
Mm-hmm.
There's a handle here.
Yep.
You press down it with your hand until you can't move it any further. And then once you can't press down before you step on it. What this does is pushes the door up into the frame. And it pinches that door in place. It produces about 2,600 pounds of force upward. So if you could balance a Honda Civic on here, and you could pick up a Honda Civic if you were to able to balance everything perfectly.
Right.
But it only takes 300 pounds to stop the door from moving. So you're talking about multiple times more force.
Sure. Way more than you need. So, I mean, it's just crushing tension. That just pushes the door into position. It can't move.
If anyone's ever pulling a rope and you're like, man, this rope is on sliding. If you take a 90-degree turn, now it's easier to stop. So all you're doing is adding tension to the, it's like how cable bridges work, right? Everything's under tension. So you're putting the door in tension.
Yeah. I can understand the KISS acronym, right? Like it's sort of simple in a way, right?
Yeah.
You put it in there, you crank it, and it's easy enough to crank that a school teacher could do it, or a hospital staff person. You don't need the strongest guy in the room to do it.
Actually, in our website, there's several videos of a kindergartner using it, and so it's a 9.5 time weight multiplier. So however light you are, you can put 9.5 times worth of force upward. So you can weigh 100 pounds and still put.
Yeah.
So that's where the magic hits. Is you don't have. I'm kind of the worst person to show it because I'm not the smallest individual.
Yeah.
And so as we're doing some shows, we'll have like the smallest little lady come out and like, oh, come up here and do whatever. And they go, oh, wow, it isn't that hard. And I'm like, yep.
And the door is still there.
What's kind of neat.
Yeah. Okay, great. On the manufacturing side, so you've got customers now. You're talking about going in different schools, banks, or the theater. You mentioned a few other things. So I imagine at some point, maybe already, you're not just doing this at night in your boss's shop, or maybe you still are, but clearly there's going to be some limit to that eventually. Mm-hmm. What are the thoughts?
So when I first started this, I didn't grow up with a lot of money. So for me, being able to, I'm not afraid to go in a scrap bin or a dumpster to find something. And so heavy equipment auctions tend to go underneath a lot of people's radars.
Okay.
And I have a lot of background in tool and die, a lot, industrial maintenance.
Right.
And so I was able to buy the presses and stuff like that. I think if you look at my balance sheet of how much money I spent on all my equipment, it'd be like $230. But there's 14,000 pounds worth of equipment.
Wow.
So it was a lot of finding the auction.
You got some good deals.
Oh, I got stuff for $1. I got things for like $1, which way.
Dang.
And I had to rebuild this stuff. A lot of stuff I had to rebuild, but then it was
okay.
So right now, if we hit our max, and this is without quitting our day job, we do 300 a week.
Okay.
upping any of our, so you can time that by 52, right? And we're talking about some crazy numbers when you start thinking about that and the relative of the price of the product, right? Everything's made actually within LaPorte County. Well, besides some like hardware, but all of it's actually made in America. And we did that way in the very beginning just for, I don't believe.
So it's not a tariff move.
No, it wasn't a tariff move. No, this was a, as a tool and die maker, I've only worked with American steel. I've only done that because ITAR and other regulations and things like that. Like, I don't do foreign imports, not against it, but it's like, oh, I know this will work.
Yeah.
The casting house that's casting a couple of these components, the main body here and this lock bar here, they said they could do 100,000 a month. They cast 100,000 a month.
Okay.
And I've done the math, and I have kind of the equipment list, the wish list, but the joke was there was one operation. If you hit the button, every single time the button rotated and the machine got done, it'd be $10,000 in revenue, every single button switch. And it'd be every 13 minutes.
Yeah.
Like, that's the kind of wacky numbers we get at. Cause, when you're dealing with stuff that, like the tool and die maker, if someone asks you to make 100,000 parts an hour, how are you making 100,000 parts an hour?
Yeah.
So is that?
What do you think that this, it strikes me, we talked about tariffs and importing steel. Like, what does what you're doing say about American manufacturing?
So I've been in the trade. I was the youngest in the trade for tool and die for the longest time. Only up the last couple of years, we have some younger blood. A lot of American manufacturing is very much stuck in the idea of, I need to get the return on this machine as fast as possible. And I need to spend as little money as possible to get that. And a lot of the world has gone, no, we need to think of this not a 2-year plan, but a 20-year plan, a 15-year plan. And a lot of America, we're up north. This is the Rust Belt, and then around here it's the steel mills in St. Joe County and Elkhart County. They talk about the RV industry. There's a lot of big, dirty, nasty machine shops. Right. And
long history of it.
They're dirty, they're dusty, they're hot. I've never worked in an air conditioned environment my entire life.
Yeah.
And I feel like what happened was, as the 90s hit, we decided to send everything out, and what had to stay had to get really resourceful because everything else was just the scraps, right? It was the stuff that was too heavy, too miserable to send to Canada or to Mexico. And so what's left in manufacturing is you're almost like a starving person, where you're willing to take anything on, but you can't really worry about your appearance because you're trying to make payroll.
Yeah. Wow.
So as we see it now, like I said, it's still tough. And the hardest thing is labor, because how do you convince the kid who is smart enough to do this that, hey, don't forgo that office job, come here and work in this dirty whatever environment,
Yeah, I mean, that is probably a hard sell, right? For
really hard sell.
Kids growing up right now. But so it does strike me though, like you're in a way kind of a throwback, right? You're an inventor.
Yeah.
An inventor who created a product that needs to be built, and you've done it. You've taken it, you're building it. I mean, do you ever see yourself that way? Like a throwback to 1910 or something like that, where there was a lot of industrial innovation happening and product innovation happening that wasn't tech-based per se, you know what I mean? It wasn't like a computer program.
I see myself in a bit of a middle ground, because as a tool and die maker, you still hit the old manual equipment, right? I had to learn all the old manual machinery, but now in 2025, I have to also know how to program all the complicated CNC machines, right?
Yeah.
And so I've always found myself in the middle of it. And I think that's where people have the wrong mindset of going, oh, I'm this or that. It's like, when you're an entrepreneur, you got to put a lot of hats on. You got to put a lot of things on. So I never been like, oh, I'm the old school, whatever. I got to do what I got to do to get the job done. I do feel like sometimes when we talk to people, they don't understand as we've been talking with people, they ask me, well, how can you make 100,000 of these a month? I'm like, I can explain it to you, but you don't have the background knowledge to understand what I'm telling you. Luckily, I think a lot of entrepreneurs, especially if you want to make something, it's not as expensive as you think it is. And the best thing to do is just call several places, and just ask.
Yeah.
Just ask, how much does it cost to make this thing, right? or go to Ivy Tech or some of these things that go, I need a student who's half passionate about something, have them design something for you, right? Because anyone can design anything that needs to be built on $1 million machine, right? That's easy to do.
Yeah.
But you need a little bit of background going, how can I make this with the simplest tools possible?
Mm-hmm.
And with this is probably the most complicated part on this because it's machined out of a billet. The rest of this could be done with a drill press and a sander.
Yeah.
Right. So even though, I have access to all these crazy machines or whatever, it's like, no. So it can't be ran on the drill press, because if we're going to be ran on the drill press, you can make it more efficient.
It's kind of fascinating because, I mean, you understand that, but I think most of the population doesn't understand that. Like stuff just magically appears and people don't understand the process that goes on behind it and the design work that goes on behind it. And for you, it's like crystal clear. You're like, it's simple. We do this, we do this, we do this. We can find the right people who help us do it. You're bringing, I think, a really valuable mindset that a lot of people don't have, or don't have the background or the skill set to understand.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong, when I started my shop, it was a little bit before I started this idea. I was told we don't do work for inventors, and we don't do work for we don't do work for inventors. We don't do people that I have an idea, because the problem is they don't have money.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of the funny part, talking about the old and the old and new. It was the first day at the shop, he goes, because I learned how to, my boss taught me how to quote, and he goes, never do work for inventors, because all they had to pay was hopes and dreams, and that doesn't pay the power bill. And so I think that's the really ironic thing of that was like, here I am, like, I probably won't make parts I might do it for the love of doing it, but I couldn't charge you my hourly rate to make the parts for you, because no one could afford it.
Right.
And so then here I am, the guy who don't do parts for inventor, became the inventor.
Became the inventor, and actually are proving them wrong too, right? Like, you're bringing more than hopes and dreams at this point. You're bringing actual customers.
I will still, if you start getting the manufacturing thing, it's beautiful around here. The best way to say it is, if you have an idea, just go to your local machine shop and say, hey, this is my idea. Let them kind of run with it. But don't be afraid to go around some places too.
Mm-hmm.
But have the idea of the thing you came up the first time, because like I said, this is the 4th iteration, right, to what we got here. Mm-hmm. Now I did all the iterations. Most people get stuck on the first one.
Yeah.
And it's what really brings up your R&D costs, everybody. I'll look at the camera. Everybody is this is my idea. Well, this is not manufacturable. So what happens is this design, it ends up, you get this humongous list where how'd it cost, $100,000 to make this weird widget? Oh, after enough engineering consulting, whatever.
Yeah.
So I guess I saved a lot of money on that, but if anyone's out there, just kind of think about, just go, hey, I don't know how this is made. Talk to someone else. Also, if you invent something, they're unless no one steals bad ideas. Only people steal good ideas. So if you have a good idea, you want to run with it. Don't be worried about someone stealing your idea right off a hand.
Yeah.
Just don't. Just kind of go with someone. The dude down the street ain't gonna take your idea. He just wants to pay his water bill.
Right. No, I think that's actually very good advice, because you do, in the world of entrepreneurship, it's I don't know if it's a common problem, but it's definitely an issue where they're afraid if they share what they're working on, it will be stolen. And the reality is that almost never happens. And in fact, if you don't share it, your idea is probably going to die on the vine, because it's sharing it that's going to give it some additional power and move it forward. Yeah.
I think that's kind of been a bit of our, I was pretty good about keeping it private off social media.
Yeah.
So but people everywhere, machine shop. Yeah. And that's where I think we're struggling at now as a business, is now how do we get it out there?
Sure.
That's where we've been really struggling. So my beginning, I wasn't worried about, someone's going to steal it. But I never put on Facebook. I never put on YouTube.
Yeah. Well, marketing and promotion, that's a whole nother skill set,
that was where we're like, we did a great job keeping it quiet. Now we're like, oh no, it's too quiet.
Yeah. All right, before we go, I wanted to switch back to you, Adam. And you talked a lot about a sense of mission, a sense of purpose. And it's certainly when you did the migrant program. At first glance, this is a manufactured product, but it does have a purpose behind it, right?
Yeah.
Tell us how this is still giving you that sense that you're acting on a social good.
Yeah.
While you're building a device.
I think it's about like empowerment. Like this device empowers people to give themselves peace of mind, safety in what could be like one of the worst events or days of their lives. It is very true. This is a manufacturing company. Like on paper, that's what it looks like.
Yeah.
But what our device can do in terms of how it can make people feel safe makes me feel really good intrinsically that I am working on something that's actually going to have a tangible, like true impact on people's lives. And hopefully, like we always say, like this is a device that we want you to have, but hope you never have to use.
Yeah.
And so like there's another element to that. Like, hey, we want to give you this device to keep you safe, but also I hope you like never have to use it.
Well, we all have devices like that in our homes, like a fire extinguisher.
Yeah.
Like I hope I never have to use my fire extinguisher, but if I do, I really want it there.
Yeah, exactly. And so, but like you touched on, like school shootings unfortunately show no sign of going away.
Yeah.
Gun violence has increased a lot in this country recently, especially in the past like 10 or 15 years. And so we actually really believe like this is a device that can actually help a lot of different people.
Yeah.
And as we've touched on, maybe people outside of schools, maybe it's businesses, maybe it's healthcare, maybe it's childcare centers, maybe it's the freshman in her dorm, maybe it's a female traveling solo or a male traveling solo.
Yeah.
Like this has a lot of different uses, so we think there's a lot of different places we can take it and do a lot of good, because that's what it's really all about. Like that's really what got Nick into this. That's really what got me into this. Like coming from Notre Dame, they really touch on like being a force for good. And in the Esteem program, the motto for that is fix things that matter. And so it's like this is really ticking all of the boxes that I would want it to tick.
Fantastic, guys. Thank you so much for coming on today. I am very interested to hear where you go from here. Is there like a sales goal that you're trying to get to 50K in revenue or 100K in revenue? Like where do you go? Where are you going from here?
Yeah. We're actually doing pretty good this year.
Yeah, we're doing pretty good this year, but yeah, I think 50K, 100K, all of the above. We're trying to get as much as possible.
Fantastic.
I think we've learned a lot in the past year about how to sell to complex organizations that have a lot of different stakeholders and a lot of different dynamics.
Yeah.
And so with me going full time into this and come September 1st as like the first person working on this as their day job, we think there's a lot of places we can take it in the next 12 months.
You guys are a real inspiration, honestly.
Oh, thanks.
Keep up the great work.
I appreciate
it. Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah.